So last week actually we started the discussion on Yavakalapi Sutta. It is translated as the chief of Barley, and we started with explaining the two similes that Buddha is giving just before the beginning of this sutta. So one simile explains about the 7 strong people using flails, how they are smashing or striking a sheaf of barley. So the sheaf of barley was taken from the field and then still they are new. And these first the 6 people smashing it, striking it very strongly, and then the barley seeds are fairly crushed. And then the 7th one also come using another flail, and he too starts smashing, striking this sheaf of barley. So that's about the first simile. And then actually Buddha connects it with the mind to our practice. So basically through our eyes we can see various sights, through the ear we can see various smell, sounds, through the nose the various odors, through the tongue different kinds of taste, and through the body different kinds of tangibles. And again various mind objects come to the mind as well. So these are the 6 senses, and they are operating with the or interacting with the outside corresponding objects. So according to the simile, the 6 people, strong people coming and smashing the sheaf of barley is similar to this. So according to the Buddha here, so he is mentioning agreeable and disagreeable objects. Sight, sound, smells, taste, tangibles, and the mental objects are again and again striking the corresponding faculty, and ultimately mind is the one get disturbed, and mind is the one ultimately consume everything, and mind is the one probably get polluted and cluttered and particularly stressed. So the idea is how these sense faculties are constantly giving a kind of a hard time to the mind. On the other hand, the 7th person particularly explained that similar to one who is thinking about the future existence. And we can say it's not merely the future existence as a next birth, but even during this life, other than the present moment awareness of various outside objects, sight, sound, smells, taste, tangibles, and the mental objects, we ourselves can imagine so many things. We ourselves can think with respect to the future, and similarly with respect to the past. We can worry about what has happened in the past, and we can even laugh about what has happened in the past. Similarly, we can worry about what's going to happen in the future. We can become anxious about what's going to happen, and we can even plan so much of various activities in the future, and again the future life as well. So all kind of this purposeful, willful, intentional thinking is also can be represented as this 7th person. This is an additional burden to the mind. So if we are simply thinking about the present moment, the present moment itself is giving some kind of a trouble to the mind, because the senses are operating and they are constantly giving some triggering to the mind. But apart from that, the mind itself is now trying to think about various things, imagine and fantasize. That also becomes another burden. So this is the simile and the corresponding Dhamma passage that Buddha is talking about, the Yavakalapi Sutta. That is the first simile and the corresponding Dhamma. And next actually comes with the second simile, where Buddha explains about the battle between, or the war between the Asuras and the Devas. And there, as we already discussed, the Devas won, and what they did was they bound the Vepachitti, the king of the Asuras, the lord of the Asuras, with 5 limbs. And the interesting thing is, so when Vepachitta is thinking, the Asuras are unrightful or not righteous, and unrighteous, and the devas are righteous, and I like to stay with the devas, and then his bondage become released and he is endowed with the heavenly pleasures. But he being the asura, the opposite is the most probable situation, where he might think, okay, asuras are righteous, devas are unrighteous, so I want to release from these devas and I want to return to the asura realm. So that would be the most probably possible thought. But interesting thing is, when he is thinking like that, this certain bondage become further and further tightened, and he get further stuck in the heavenly realm. So basically, explaining this simile, Buddha mentioned so subtle bhikkhus was the bondage of the Vepachitti, but even subtler than that is the bondage of Mara. So he is telling this story for a reason. The Vepachitti is not bound using chains and shackles and all these modern kind of bondages, but rather he is being bound by his thought. The way of thinking becomes his bondage. Now, more than that, now Buddha is saying, okay, Mara's bondage is even subtle. So we all are bound by the Mara's bondage. By not conceiving, one is freed from the evil one, but by conceiving, one is bound by the Mara. So what is conceiving? Manjana. So now we are discussing that part. So what is this manjana? And in this sutta, there are 5 such different types of bondages are mentioned. 5 causes or 5 sources of possibilities, how the mind start up in a very subtle way, some sort of thinking, and then ultimately end up with some kind of a stressful burden, some kind of a heavy burden to the mind, even to the overthinking, proliferation. So 5 sources are mentioned in this sutta, starting with Manjana, and then Injana, and then Pandana, and then Prapanchana, and then Managata. So we are going one by one. So today we can further discuss on the first one, that is the Manjana. So the term Manjana, the Manjati. So basically we can say it is very much based on the compactness. That is one aspect. So what we see from everywhere are solid objects. They are already compact, they are already kind of have a shape, and they are given a name, and basically already we learned about them, and our teachers, our parents have taught about them. So what we see in the outside are various objects. We can see a chair, we can see a table, we can see a laptop, we can see a cup, we can see a table lamp. So likewise various objects are there. On the other hand, various people are there. Various individuals are there. My mother, my father, my son, my daughter, my wife, my husband, my teacher. So likewise, we can give various names. So various individuals are there. So this is our world. So this is how we are being taught from our childhood, and this is how we perceive. Now all these are in a way taught to us, and it also has certain purpose. And apart from that, we ourselves are a kind of an individual. So I am a male, I am a monk. So likewise, so you also can think, okay, I am a male, I am a accountant, I am an engineer. So likewise, you all can think about yourself. So various possessions are there, various assets are there, our education is there, our name is there. So all sorts of assets, what we call as the upadi, help us to become a person. So from our childhood, so our parents and the teachers, our friends help us to develop this personality. So now we also perceive ourselves as a person. On the other hand, we have developed fair amount of Sakkaya Ditthi, the personality view. So how we think is based on this person, based on this individual. I am here. So I am basically feeling that this whole body is myself, and whenever I experience some kind of a feeling, this is I am experiencing. When various thoughts are coming to the mind, then I think as that I am thinking. So these are my thoughts. So likewise, so I am as a person, I am as an individual, I am as a self is what we are being taught, and that is how we think, that is how we perceive. So this is all called manjana. So that means whenever we have some kind of a personality, a kind of a compactness within ourselves, and based on that whenever we are thinking, I am here, I am thinking, I am talking, I am preaching, I am listening, all that are type of manjana. On the other hand, when we are attributing it to the outside, there is my mother, there is my child, there is my daughter, so all that external personification, personalization, that is also a type of manjana. On the other hand, when we are considering outside objects as various compact objects, okay, this is my laptop, this is my mobile phone, this is my table lamp, this is my chair, etc. So that is also type of manjana. So therefore we can see how subtle it is. So all types of thinking mostly have this kind of a either object is included, a compact object is included, or a person is included, or I am included. So you can explore your own thoughts and see whether there is you in the thought, or whether there is a person in the thought, or whether there is a object in the thought. Now all these things are actually concepts. That's another way of explaining this. Now all these things are concepts. Now basically the mind needs concepts to think. So without concepts, mind can't think. But interestingly, these concepts are not real. So that's another interesting thing. Now just to give you an example, so we all know about the equator. So in the world, so we have introduced there's an equator, and accordingly we have divided the world, the north and the south, and again all the time is established based on the equator, and all these longitudes, latitudes, all are with respect to the equator. So we all perceive it as a kind of a line. But really there is no such line, and we can't use the equator to bind something because it's a concept. But we perceive it as something important, something very real, and we perceive it as a reality. But we all know that it's a concept on the other hand. But interesting thing is these concepts, as we are using again and again, so they become solidified in our mind, strongly embedded in our mind, ingrained in our mind, and we start thinking according to them, thinking around them, and we can get into conceptual proliferation, prapancha, and we are unable to come out of it. Even though concepts have some kind of a purpose, kind of a mundane purpose is there for us to work in a organized manner as the population, so there are a need of the concepts, no argument about it. But unfortunately these concepts can be felt as something real, something available, something existing, and ultimately we get trapped in the concepts. So conceiving also has a certain influence coming from all these concepts. So basically this body, myself, all the feelings and all that are considered as a person, as a male, as a woman, as a man, as a father, as a mother, as a teacher, as a monk, as a lay person, blah blah. So all these different kinds of names are there, labels are there, and designations are there. So all are but conventions. But unfortunately, we take these conventions as true, we take these conventions as something real. Based on that, we start thinking. So therefore, Buddha gives us 9 examples of this conceiving, and he say 9 examples in this sutta. I am asmiti, I am this, ayang ahang asmiti, I shall be. That means bhavissanti, I shall not be. Na bhavissanti, I shall consist of form, rupi bhavissanti. I shall be formless, arupi bhavissanti. I shall be percipient, sanyi bhavissanti. I shall be non-percipient, asanyi bhavissanti. I shall be neither percipient nor non-percipient, neva sanyi na sanyi bhavissanti. So these are the 9 examples that Buddha has given. But that doesn't mean our conceiving is only limited to these 9. These are very primordial, fundamental kind of examples that Buddha has given. Around this, we can have so much of other types of conceiving. So you can see that I am, this very subtle, very short thought, I am, the sense I am, itself is a manjana. I am this. So you are attributing something external and you say, okay, I am this. So basically now, say for example, if we are in front of a mirror, we can recognize our image, but we simply say, I am this. Oh, this is I am. Or if you have seen a group photo, you can recognize yourself and then you can point it out and say to a friend, okay, you see, I am here. So likewise, so whenever something external is available, we can have a relationship with that to myself. And again, you can plan various things to the future. And similarly, you can think about various past events. And so you feel, okay, I am going to do this, I am going to do that, I am going to go there, I am going abroad tomorrow. So likewise, you have various plans. So I am going to take a taxi, I am going to catch the train. So likewise, various future activities you can think of, but still I am here. So I am is there in that thinking. So again, with respect to the body, you can think of, okay, I am going to have a haircut, I am going to have find a job. So all sorts of thinking actually have this inherent misunderstanding that there is a person, inherent misunderstanding that there is an individual, a self. Now all that Buddha say is a kind of a conceiving, kind of an imagination. Now, after explaining this, in this sutta, Buddha mentioned Manyitam bhikkhave rogo, manyitam gando, manyitam sallam. Manyitam bhikkhave rogo, manyitam gando, manyitam sallam. Monks, this conceiving is a disease. It is a tumor. And it is a dart. Tasmatiha bhikkhave amanyamanena cetasa viharissamati evang hivo bhikkhave sikkitabbang. So therefore, monks, you should train yourself so that I am not encouraging and not dwelling in this kind of a conceiving. Basically, I want to keep the mind devoid of conceiving, free from conceiving. So this is the kind of an advice that he is giving to us as practitioners. So we need to understand the underlying ignorance here, how our thinking is based on certain amount of ignorance, and therefore we should try ourselves to keep the mind free from this type of ignorant thinking. Now this is further explained in the Mula Pariyaya Sutta. So probably you can remember when we were discussing Mula Pariyaya Sutta. So Buddha has taken 24 concepts to explain it, and there are also 24 examples. And so around these 24 examples, how a typical worldly being is thinking. So I just explained you that. So you consider as an individual, as a person, and with a name and social status, and based on that he is thinking. Now assume that he is getting to the house, getting to his home. Now he is thinking, okay, this is my home. So this is the veranda. I am on the chair. I am now having a cup of tea. So all this is how he is thinking. So it appears like innocent, appears like correct. But as we already discussed, it consists of certain amount of ignorance and basically misunderstanding that there is a self, misunderstanding that there is an individual. Now, but unfortunately our thinking is largely based on the concepts, and we are tempted to think like that. Again and again we think like that. So we are affirming the existing self in that sense. So we are developing a kind of a tendency to the mind. We are kind of allowing the mind to freely think like that, and ultimately mind get habituated to think like that. Mind get sort of trained to think like that. Mind is learning to think like that. Unfortunately, what happens is then it itself is thinking like that. It perceives like that. So it is unable to come out of that pattern now. Now we need a fair amount of practice to come out of that, and a fair amount of convincing also is necessary, and a different way of looking at things is necessary. So that is the whole purpose of Vipassana. So where you develop fair amount of mindfulness at first. So we are very much trying to bind the mind to the present moment. For that we are using some kind of a bodily process, a very natural process which is happening right now, like breathing, for example. So again and again we are training our mind, to associate this kind of a process. So once that is happening, so now to some extent mind is trained to associate that process which is happening right now. So fair amount of past thinking and fair amount of future thinking, future related thinking is now abandoned. Now mind is somewhat released from the past and the future, but bound to the present moment anyway, some kind of a present moment activity. But again now we are developing knowledge, kind of an understanding based on the developed mindfulness and concentration, how even the present moment, how the mind can be released rather than being bound. So in order to do that, we are understanding the impermanence, unsatisfactoriness and the non-self nature of all these phenomena. Assume now we are practicing elements meditation. So with respect to the form aggregate, one is now trying to recognize the rising and passing away of various elements, their characteristics. And with respect to, say, Vedanānupassana, if you are experiencing different kinds of feelings, you are trying to understand the rising and passing away. So that impermanent nature is something that helping us to have a different way of looking at things. So rather than grasping, now mind has a different tendency. No point of grasping, because this is an impermanent process. I can't depend on it. I can't trust it. So it is not a refuge. Even though I am ignorantly grasping it, it is not something permanent. It is very fragile. It is quite transient. So what's the purpose of holding it? So likewise, we are now educating the mind and developing some kind of an insight. So there is no purpose of grasping it. And on the other hand, once we are further developing Vipassana, probably you may understand the unsatisfactory nature or even the non-self nature. Many different ways. So I am not going to explain everything here, because we are going out of the focus to this sutta. So anyway, the idea is now we are developing the true understanding, what we call as the Yatha Bhuta Jnana Dassana, seeing things as they truly are. So once we develop this understanding, So the very nature of this understanding is to free the mind. So rather than grasping, so it is helping to free the mind, to release the mind, to reduce grasping, to abandon grasping. Suppose that such a possibility, such a capacity is now developed into the mind, so time to time, mind might give up whole grasping, let go of whole grasping, and time to time, the mind experience some kind of a release. In this Mulapariyaya Sutta, for such a person who is now training, Buddha is showing that unlike that previous worldly mundane person, now this trainee has a different way of approaching things. Even though he himself may be going into the house, but he is not allowing the mind to grasp it. He is not allowing the mind to ignorantly hold it as my house and all different kind of thinking. He is not promoting. Rather, he is trying to restrain the mind. Ditthang dittato abhijanati, ditthang dittato abhiññāya, ditthang mā maññi. So he has seen the house previously as house, but now he may be seeing it differently. It's a kind of an accumulation of 4 elements. The house is a kind of a name given, a label given, just to recognize. So he knows the purpose of that concept. And with that understanding, he is now kind of training the mind. Don't proliferate. Don't conceive. Don't imagine. Don't build various kinds of thinking around this house. Keep the mind free from conceiving. So basically, he's again and again training the mind. Ma maññi. Ma maññi. So that means don't proliferate, don't conceive, don't imagine. So that's the term there. So avoid any kind of conceiving. So he still has the tendency, his mind still has the tendency to proliferate. But again and again, he is now trying to restrain. So don't do that. Don't ignorantly overthink. Don't ignorantly proliferate. Don't ignorantly conceive. But in order to do that, he needs to have a fair amount of mindfulness. So the mindfulness is the kind of the savior here. So because mindfulness helps us to develop some kind of a monitoring process within our mind. So whenever mind gets into that old pattern of thinking, so mindfulness will indicate us. Mindfulness will give us a warning. Okay, this fool is still back to that old pattern of thinking. Now at that moment, the wise person has to stop it, drop it. Now interesting, this mentioned in another sutta, in this Ajitamanava Pucca, in the Parayana Vagga. So where Buddha mentioned, Yani sotani lokasmin sati tesan nivaranam, sotanang sangvaram brumi paññāyete pitiyare. So there are different kinds of floods of defilements are flowing. To all these floods of defilements, sati tesan nivarana. Mindfulness is the kind of the blockage, kind of the restraint. Sotanang sangvaram brumi. So I say this is the restrainment of these different kinds of defilements. So whenever you recognize, whenever you understand, whenever you become mindful that there is a old pattern of thinking is going on, so you have to stop that. So the mindfulness is the kind of a savior. Mindfulness is the indicator. Mindfulness is kind of a dam for this ongoing flow of or the stream of defilements. But that alone is not enough to completely eradicate this particular tendency. So you need the wisdom as well. Paññāyete pitiyare. So Buddha mentioned, so the wisdom is required to completely dry it out. So mindfulness in one hand, show it to us, and then we have to apply yoniso manasikara to understand where we have gone wrong. So what is the ignorant part in this type of thinking? Now say for example, we practice the dhatu manasikara, with respect to the body aggregate or the form aggregate. So we understood there is no person here. So that was while at Nissarana, that was while at our retreat. But unfortunately, once we come back home, again we start proliferating. Again we start thinking with respect to the body. Thinking that I am here, I am so and so, I am very beautiful, I am sick, like that. So with respect to body, we can think in many different ways, but we are again back to that old pattern. So at that moment, the mindfulness has to indicate us, so how can we recognize the ignorant part there? So one way is, so whenever we become familiarized with this thinking or mindful about this thinking, so we can look back. So what is the ignorant part here? So where I component is included, where self component is included, where there are any my own imaginations included, where the planning included, where the memory is included, where there is an individual included. As I already mentioned, where the person is included in this thought, where an individual included in this thought, where I as a person, as an individual, as a self included in this thought, or where an object included in this thought. So this is one way of looking at it. So we are tracing, like we are examining the thought to recognize the I component, the self component, an individual. So when we are trying to penetrate and examine like that, so rather than promoting thinking, so we start untangling. So we are kind of disassembling the thought pattern, and there if we recognize, okay, here the I component, here the mind component, or here the person included. So likewise, then the mind might understand, okay, no point of again going back to that old pattern. Again I am promoting the avijja anusaya, the latent tendency to ignorance. It's again a foolish rhythm that I am going back. So let's stop that. So the wisdom is there. So the wisdom going against the trait, and now you may be able to abandon thinking, conceiving, manjana. Now Buddha actually gives various methods. So I have just explained one. Buddha has given many methods to overcome this. So if you refer Indriya Bhavana Sutta, so Buddha has given 3 methods for the trainee, for the first person who is involved in the vipassana. So recognizing that this thinking state is kind of very gross type of a state when compared to the non-proliferating, very calm, relaxed, quiet state. On the other hand, this thinking, proliferating, conceiving state is something constructed. So I have included a person here, I have included a self here, I have included an individual here, I have included an object here, I have added a label here. All these are constructions. All these are ignorant preparations. So you are trying to recognize all that, as I already explained. So you are recognizing these preparations, constructions, fabrications. So once we recognize that, again this delusion, this illusion start fade away. Or else Buddha say, okay, you look at the Patissamuppada nature, how it has happened as a result of this, as a kind of a dependently arisen process. When I meets with the form, there is the I consciousness. It repeats again and again. Then we perceive it as a kind of a contact. As a result of the contact, the feeling happen. So we may attach to the feeling, and therefore the tanha, the craving happen. As it happens again and again, then the grasping, and ultimately this existence, perceiving as a person, it has happened. So likewise, so penetrating this whole process in a way that to understand the Patissamuppada, that's another method. But as we interestingly develop again and again all these methods, so the mind has to become more and more developed. That means mind Now avoid too much of thinking. Now mind drops overthinking. Rather it prefers calming. Rather it prefers relaxation. Rather it prefers the quietude. And now Buddha say, even to a advanced yogi, now you don't need to struggle even that much. So whenever mind, in case again mind go to the old pattern, just have a little bit of shame. Attiyati harayati jugucchati. So just have a little bit of shame and just give an advice. That's more than enough. Now, as in the Mulapariyaya Sutta, so Buddha mentioned the term ma-manyi. So don't do that. So just a kind of an order to the mind, kind of an advice to the mind, or just being ashamed of what the mind is ignorantly doing. So that very shame, that little bit of shamefulness would be enough for the mind to come back to that relaxed, calm, quiet, wise state of mind. So these are the different techniques that Buddha explaining. And now there are other suttas actually Buddha give as an explanation, and the Kalakarama Sutta. Kalakarama Sutta also another interesting sutta where Buddha say how typically a person is getting to conceiving, but how the Arahant, the Buddha, is not getting to any kind of conceiving. Now there are 4 stages or 4 steps, 4 categories are mentioned. In one sense, the outside object. Say for example, I am looking at someone. Assume that there is another man and his name is Nimal. So I am looking at Nimal. So that is the typical ignorant way of recognizing, okay, Nimal is here or Nimal is there. So based on Nimal I can think, because Nimal is there, Nimal is a good person, Nimal has helped me. So like that, assume that Nimal is a good person, and then based on Nimal I can think. But if I want to avoid conceiving, so then even though mere seeing is there, I need to stop thinking. Seeing is there but no thinking. Mere seeing is happening, but based on an individual, I am not going to think. So this is one level of minimizing thinking, conceiving based on an outside object, what we call as the object. On the other hand, even if I can't see Nimal, I probably can think. That means the datta dattabbang dittang na manyati adittang na manyati. Adittang na manyati means, so it is not a must to see the Nimal to think about Nimal. Even when Nimal is absent, when I can't see Nimal, still I can think about Nimal. But that also needs to be stopped. So even I can't see Nimal, there's a possibility to think about Nimal. But now, since I am promoting non-conceiving, I am not getting to that either. Again, that tabbang na manyati. So I might think, okay, I need to meet Nimal, or I need to see Nimal. I am going to see him tomorrow. I should see him. So likewise, I can think about Nimal. But during this non-conceiving practice, so I am not going to do that either. The last part is the interesting part. So who is thinking? So I am the one thinking. So I am thinking about Nimal. So the subject side. So that also needs to be avoided. Thinking that there is a person, there is I, who is thinking about Nimal, meeting Nimal, talking to Nimal. So this is my side. So this, based on this internal fabrication, that also I need to abandon. Dattarang na manyati. Thinking that there is a person here, there is an observer here, there is a subject here. So this type of thinking also have to be abandoned. So likewise, Buddha interestingly give 4 stages of abandoning conceiving in the Kalakarama Sutta. Actually, we are discussing Kalakarama Sutta in the Kalalgoda retreat. Probably you can refer those Dhamma sermons, and then you can get a thorough idea about that sutta. And again, based on that, recently at ITN, the television network, we did Sinhalese Dhamma sermons, Kalakarama Sutta in the Vipassana Parikatha. If you like, you can listen to those. So the idea is, so based on some 4 different stages that Buddha is trying to help us to abandon conceiving. So these are the possibilities in a way. So when we see some outside object, outside person, based on that person, based on that object, we can think. That we need to avoid because it's an ignorant way of thinking. On the other hand, when we can't see him, still we can proliferate. That also we need to abandon. And we might emphasize, okay, I should see him. That also we need to abandon. That type of thinking, that kind of conceiving. On the other hand, internalizing, okay, there is a person inside me. I am the one thinking. I am the observer. I am the one seeing. So that type of thinking also have to be abandoned. So coming back to ourselves is the interesting part. Actually, in the Mulapariyaya Sutta, the outside is very well emphasized. But the inside side, internalized self, the thinker side, the listener side, the seer side, is what interestingly explained in the Kalakarama Sutta. So how to avoid any kind of conceiving based on the observer? How to avoid any kind of conceiving based on the listener, based on the seer, based on the thinker? So I am talking, so okay, I can think, okay, I am the one preaching, I am the one talking. So here I am conceiving as a person, as an individual, as a monk. So name is given, okay, Venerable Chandaratana, so as Venerable Chandaratana. So all these are names, so can we avoid that conceiving as well? So that's very interesting. Now that is further about the conceiving, and then the same explanation is, as we see in the Yavakalapi Sutta, is available in the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta, in the Majjhima Nikaya Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. So there also Buddha explained about Manjana to Venerable Pukkusati. So there are very interesting explanation is there. Let me see that. Yavakalapi Arahanta. So there the interesting thing is Sabba Manyitanattveva Samatikkamo Munisantoti Uchati. Such kind of a statement is there. So I just to give a kind of a summary how Buddha arrived there. So he is explaining 4 establishments in the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. And when such 4 establishments are very well available, accessible, developed in one's mind, then Buddha say, okay, you are coming to a level Sabba Manyitanantveva Samatikkamo Munisantoti Uchati. So Manyitam bhikkhu rogo, manyitam gando, manyitam sallang, sabba manyitanantveva bhikkhu samatikkama munisantoti uchati. So all the kinds of manjana, all different kinds of conceiving is now abandoned, penetrated. So then only he is called a peaceful sage. Peaceful sage. So at that moment, Buddha gives another interesting statement. Munikopana bhikkhu santo na jayati, na jiyati, na miyati, na kuppati. So when such wise monk, an arahant, he is not being born, he is not being getting to aging, he is not dying, and he is not being get into any kind of a trouble. Why? Because he hasn't prepared a self. He don't have any person related thinking. He is not perceiving as a person now. So when there is no person, so there is no one to die, there is no one to get aged, no one to get sick. Tampisa bhikkhu natti yena jayeta ajayamano king jiyissati. So when he can't perceive as a person, and when he is not perceiving as a arising of a person, arising of any kind of a existence, then how can he get into any kind of aging? When there is no aging, how is going to die? When there is no dying, how he is going to kind of agitate? And when there is no such agitation, how can there be any kind of stress? Yattatitam manyussava nappavattanti manyussave kopan nappavattamane munisantoti uchchati. So this is the statement in the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. When someone is able to completely calm down himself, completely abandon all these conceiving, there is no I making, mind making, all that is now abandoned. Now that means he can't perceive as a person. He can't perceive as a self. He can't perceive that I am living, that I am part is completely dropped now. Then only he is called completely a peaceful sage. Munisantu, a peaceful sage. So he is not feeling any kind of coming and going, arising and passing away, coming into existence and then dying. So such kind of a perception is no more with him. Agati agati nahoti. So there is no any kind of coming and going. Chutupapato nahoti. And such state there is no, he may not perceive any kind of arising and passing away, coming into birth and then dying. Such thing is not possible in such state. So that's very interesting, and for us to explore further how Buddha giving another indication in the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. So likewise we can see the conceiving is something Buddha explained very deeply, and basically asking us to minimize conceiving, minimize any kind of imagination, and keep the mind fairly free from imagination, free from conceiving, because the moment we start conceiving, we are trapped in the Mara's realm. We are bound by the Mara's bondage. But if we are able to free from the conceiving, then we are free from Mara. It is so subtle. Even the very subtle thought, I am this, I did that, I am going to do that, all that I-based, the person-based, individual-based thinking help the Mara to trap us, help the Mara to trace us. But on the other hand, if we are trying to keep the mind free from conceiving, so that helps us to be free ourselves from the Mara. Okay, with that note, I like to conclude today's Sutta teaching session. Now I like to open the session for questions.
Thank you, Bante, Thero, Sanai. Okay, let's see, does anyone have any questions? Hi, Nissarana. Feel free to unmute.
Yeah. My question is regarding when you say that peaceful state. So, is that like an indication at that time when you don't have the your mind making, that's arahat status that Buddha's quoting, or something else here?
Actually, this is mentioned at the end of the sutta. So this is very much like indication to an arahant. So, but the thing is, as yogis, we can try that. There is no harm in trying that and experiencing that time to time. But we may not be able to continue that for long periods of time. So let me share that sutta part. So in the this Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta exposition of elements, so it was with reference to this. Okay, give me a second. So here also you can see I am is a conceiving, I am this is a conceiving. Now this is very much coming closer to the end of the Sutta of Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. And so he is explaining everything to Venerable Pukkusati. But anyway, the Pukkusati is not an arahant. He ultimately became a non-returner, anagami. So you can see, so therefore even though Buddha explained that the very best form of non-conceiving, so it is not only for the arahant. So it's a general advice given to all the vipassana yogis, we can say, all his followers. We should try ourselves, at least time to time, to keep the mind completely free from conceiving. So at that moment, interesting thing is, the perception of I shouldn't be available. So we can verify, I mean, if the moment that we are going to verify, we get trapped because we need to think to verify. Rather, we have to merely experience. So let me give a different point here. Now, in Taoism, I haven't studied Taoism, but I heard a very interesting statement coming in the Taoism. So where that in I think Lao Tzu, he is mentioning the eternal Tao is not something expressible. Eternal Tao is not expressible. So whenever you are trying to add a label, when you are trying to express it, when you are trying to explain it, that means you are out of it. You are out of it. So you can merely experience it, but you can't explain it.
Yeah, I think I'll tell you how I understood. So even when we, and I'll use my mic, so when we do Parangaba, like sitting down meditation, when you come to that state, sometimes where you go from just like elemental meditation to like where you say there's a restful, peaceful state, right? What happens to me sometimes is, Bhante, I recognize that state, then I come out of it, right? So it's a very strange thing. Soon as you recognize that you went there, then you get on all those thoughts coming in. So it's just you started compare. So I think I sort of see what you're saying there. So it's an experience, but when you start thinking that you're in a state, that you come out of it, sort of, right? That's
yes.
Is that something like that you're trying to say? Like
exactly.
If I say, yeah, okay.
Exactly, because in order to think, in order to label, again we need concepts. Again, that means we are back into that old habit. Then we are no more purely experiencing it. So here we are talking a kind of a pure experience. So we are merely in the experience without making a self, making an individual out of the experience.
It is easier said than done.
Exactly. Very, very true.
It's because during like our normal day-to-day lives, like at work, you have to express, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I think it sort of reinforces that a bit. Like although it's where I sort of struggle sometimes. It's easier when you're doing meditation, like when you are peaceful. But when you're interacting, it becomes a bit like very challenging. That's what I see. It gets reinforced more and more, I think.
Yeah.
But in that sort of a situation, Bhante, so when you're interacting, so is that obviously you have to interact with people. You're not going to say I'm not there, right? That doesn't make sense. Like it won't be acceptable in society.
Yeah.
So how would you? So you interact, but then you still behind the scenes, like in your thoughts, you try to not to make the I making. Is that what should happen?
Yeah, that's another interesting question, actually asked by one of the devas, and he's asking, okay, how these arahants are still using the terms like I told, he told me. So that terminology he is still using, I, me, all that being used. So how that happens? So there Buddha mentioned, he's merely using the terminology, he's merely using the conventions, but apart from being conventions, he is not trapped in them as reality. He very well know it is a convention, it's a mere label, but there is no person as such. Even though, say for example, if Venerable Sariputta is referring as Venerable Ananda, and when he is using that, so he knows, okay, here the name, a label is given, but apart from this label there is no, in true sense, in ultimate sense, someone called Venerable Ananda. It is mere five aggregates arising and passing away due to causes and conditions, but there is no individual, a permanent existing substantial person as Ananda. So something like that, in a way that we need to understand like that from the indication given by the Buddha. So the Arahants are free to use the terms, they are free to use the language, but that doesn't mean that they ignorantly accept that there is something real indicated by these words, indicated by these languages.
Okay. So it coming to our practice, like because I guess we are yogis, we don't have that like that status as arahat, like to be that powerful. So for us, like we make that, but I think we are just observant that we do it. Like, for example, obviously, it's just like in a work or something, you need to say, I'm doing that, or I'm going shopping, or I'll do this, or whatever, right? But you still observe it internally. Is that something we should be practicing like that? Like, I'm not talking to you in meditation, but I'm talking to you today. Is that something we should be mindful of? Like saying that now I'm making that I'm trying to be like that, or how would your advice be like in that situation?
Yeah, that's what I explained. Now basically, so we not being arahants, so our mind may tend to go back to that old fashion of thinking. That means again and again, so the mind start thinking based on I, based on a person, but rather than promoting that ignorant pattern, we need to find out where I is included, where there is a person included, where there is a self included in this type of thinking. So if we are able to take Chittanupasana, Dhammanupasana to that level, so then we should be traced some kind of a person in the thought, a kind of a hidden self inside the thought. The thought is centered upon a self. Sometimes we call it as self-centric thinking, right? I-centered thinking. So are we able to find out this hidden I, hidden self? If we are able to recognize, then we can understand, oh my goodness, again this ignorant type of thinking.
Understood. It's all we can do is practice, I guess. But as you say,
definitely.
You said that, but I think it's a very powerful way of thinking and practicing. Thank you, Bhante. Many minutes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to invite Ratika for the next question.
Thank you, Jennifer. Bhante, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm having some difficulty looking at your past talks. I went to the link that I have, and I can't get into the Mula Pariyaya Sutta, even the Satipatthana Sutta. Nothing is coming up. Have they changed the links for any of the older talks that you gave? This was a 2020 talk, I think, I was looking at. Maybe that you did a newer one and the old ones were taken out?
No.
The old link?
No, I don't think so. The Sutta teaching sessions are available using one single link, but Sunday sermons are into two links. I mean, certain part into one link and then the rest is with another links. Using two locations, actually those are available, but in the Sutta teachings, everything is within one link. So I'll put the link to the chat, and you can try, and that's the same old link, the Sutta teaching link, and in the say what's that the YouTube, that also should be the same.
Okay. I just tried now also, but maybe I'm in the base one right now, so maybe it's not powerful enough.
Yeah, you need to come out.
Okay. This is the place that is most quiet for me to meditate or to listen. So that's why I moved here.
So we are in the basement of the latent tendencies.
Yeah, I can see. I could go into it, but I couldn't get. Now this is a new. Now here the sutta completed. Okay, what I got was the
Yavakalapi.
That sutra.
That is what we are doing now.
Yes, but the old ones also in the same one.
Yeah. You have to go to the very old, the links.
Yes, that is the thing. The old link is not working when I tried. I tried actually when I was upstairs too. Because I wanted to see the Satipatthana Sutra, the Dhammanupassana section, and I couldn't get in. Maybe I'll ask, without disturbing everyone, I'll ask Jennifer for the link again.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Theruvan Saranai.
Yeah, Theruvan Saranai.
Okay, I'd like to invite Andra for the next question.
Theruvan Saranai Bante.
Yeah, Theruvan Saranai.
Yeah, I just want a quick question. This is just I'm following some of your sermons on YouTube. But this is just, I don't know whether it's related to Nissarana. It says Gamini Creations and it has this Ananja Sappaya Sutra. So I'm not sure if you're aware of it, if they upload
yes.
all the sutras there.
Yeah.
So just wondering whether you have already conducted that sutra, or is it something that's pending? Because I just only see the first one out of 5.
Yeah, it was already conducted some time back. So Mr. Gamini is someone who is a devotee, and he listened to Dhamma and he want to give a Dhamma Dana. So he came and met me, and so I said no problem. And he extracts certain suttas we did in Nissarana and sometimes in the virtual retreats, and again at various outside locations, and he picks here and there and publish them in his YouTube channel called Sarathi. And there is no any particular kind of an order. He picks here and there, sometimes from Nissarana retreat, sometimes from an outside retreat, sometimes something from a virtual retreat. So likewise from here and there he picks certain suttas and then he publish.
Okay. So I'll just probably wait and see if he's going to upload all 5 of them.
Yeah, he will do that. Yes.
He will, okay.
Yeah.
And also, Bhante, one more thing. I'm just right now I'm just experiencing something like in my day-to-day life, like in my, because I just feel like my past is I don't have a grip of my past, whatever things that are the activities I do in the past. Just want to understand that situation. I'm obviously meditating, and I'm doing the elements meditation. And then I have followed your advice for the walking meditation as well. I just want to understand why is that gripping of the past? I'm losing the grip of my past, sort of. I'm not sure if that's something.
So it should be an effect actually. So I mean. So it is something to welcome in a way. So it is not a bad thing, because the more we associate the present moment scenario, present moment experience, then the mind develops some kind of a tendency to let go of the past. Now less thinking and less worrying about the past. And similarly, less planning and less worrying, less anxious about the future. Because now mind being fairly trained to live in the present moment. So that is the whole purpose of development of sati or satipatthana.
Yeah.
So where we need to train the mind, because typically mind being wrongly trained to be in the past and the future. It is always jumping from past to future, future to past. So this is the way of handling it. But now we are now cultivating a different skill into the mind by means of a ongoing some subtle present moment process. Okay, don't go to the past, don't go to the future, try to be in the present. Okay, this present moment awareness is something that we are highlighting in meditation. So when such is available with the mind, now it let go of the past. No need to too much think and worry about the past. Similarly, let go of the future. Okay, no point of planning too much. Let's try to be in the present moment. So likewise, it's not a bad thing.
Okay, because the future, I just feel like I'm just I feel like I'm planning like what's gonna happen for the weeks or week or even like the day. But it's not the far future. It's just like
exactly.
the close future. But the past, I feel like I'm like sort of shredding it. Sort of. It's like that's what I'm feeling. I'm like totally like even if I like if I'm doing something like suppose I just clean the house, I just feel like after about 2-3 hours, I just feel like I haven't cleaned the house. Like the weight has been like totally gone. Like in the past, I feel like, oh, I have done this cleaning. I feel the weight of it in my mind. But it's just now just it's disappeared. Like when even if I go and think about it, it's just like I feel like I haven't done cleaning sort of. Like
no problem.
That's the sort of situation.
No problem. You can welcome. You can welcome that, because the thing is, mind doesn't want to proliferate based on what has happened and what's going to happen. And it is where fair amount of stress being built.
Yeah.
Right? So the more we develop vipassana, so all these stress generating points become less and less. So the mind gets kind of awakened, mind starts some kind of a wisdom. So now it is dropping all this suffering in a way.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, because I'm not like suffering from my past. That's what I'm feeling at least. Like it's just the future, bit of future.
Yeah.
But that's okay. All right, Bhante. That's all. I just want to understand whether it's like.
So I found the link. I found the link for Ananya Sappaya Sutta and I put it to the chat. So if it's available in the Nissarana website. Yes.
Okay, Bhante. That's all. Theruvan Sarnai, Bhante.
Yeah, Theruvan Sarnai.
Okay, thank you. Let's invite Dhammosada.
Venerable Dhammosada, how are you?
Theruvan Sarnai Swami Nahatse. I am quite well.
Good. After a long time.
Yes, very happy to join these sessions again.
Good.
So I have two items. What I get from the talk today is that the moment a sense perception is attended to with an intention to derive meaning from it, then that whole process, it becomes a fabrication or a concoction of the mind, trying to calibrate things, or if you have perceptions, if you have a perception that it is day or night, or whether there is immersion of the mind or not, or whether there is desire or aversion, or whether there is pleasantness or unpleasantness, joy or sorrow, all these things, if they come up in the mind and you turn your attention towards it and you find meaning in them, then that means all of that is just conceiving, because in ultimate sense, all those things do not exist.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah, I can agree with you. Now, as you mentioned, whatever the like, dislike, all are again kind of fabricated, kind of concoctions of the mind. So they are not, they are in a way kind of processors to all these different changing processes. We slice a particular interval, kind of a window, and then we give a name, and then we say, I like it. But it's a changing process, isn't it? And it's a changing process. But if we can look at like that, so there is nothing to attach even to a pleasant experience, because that also will change. So are you referring that point or something else?
Oh, yes. I was just expressing my understanding from what has been discussed today.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, I guess, to see whether I am thinking on the correct track.
Yeah. So, I mean, whenever we have like and dislike, so such kind of a preference, so there are, I mean, if there are thoughts also included into that like and dislike, such kind of a situation, probably one way of looking at it is to look at the thought. So have I included kind of a personality here? Have I included kind of a person here? Have I included some kind of a thing, something, an object here? Or even now, say for example, kind of a climate. Now sometimes we say, okay, today is a really beautiful climate. Today the weather is very beautiful. So likewise we refer. But in a way, we have solidified the current weather into some particular existing permanent thing. So that is how we refer it. Okay, today's weather is really beautiful. Today's weather is very pleasant. But unfortunately, the weather is going to change. We can't keep it as it is. It's going to change. I mean, this doesn't mean that we can't think at all. So that sometimes we take it to the level, to an extreme. Okay, we should never think. Everywhere, whenever we think, okay, we get trapped. So certain amount of reality is there. But the thing is, rather than taking it to an extreme, so what Buddha points out is, when there is a purpose of thinking, when there is an advantage, when there is a benefit of thinking, okay, you think. But when you understand it is going too far, when you understand it is going in an ignorant distance, and when you understand, okay, there is no need to think now, we should be able to stop. Something like that. So that is the point highlighted in the Vitakka Santhana Sutta. Yang vitakkang akankissati, tang vitakkang vitakkessati. So when he want to think, when there is a purpose, when there is a benefit, okay, I am thinking, fine. When you don't need to think, can you stop thinking? Can you keep the mind quiet, completely free from conceiving? So that should be the kind of a model, I think, more realistic. Isn't it?
So I guess, yes, this is a skill that a yogi needs to develop, so that when they wish that the thoughts cease, then the thoughts cease. Or when they wish that the thinking comes to be, then they are able to think.
Yeah.
Understood, Swaminathan.
Good. How are you doing? So okay. You are still teaching to Venerable Dhamma Akila?
Yes, and this was the second point that I wanted to get to. I thought that maybe Akila and I could touch base with you maybe afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe on. Can we stay on this Zoom line, or we can connect through some other means?
Yeah, I think we'll use some other link.
Okay. All right. Okay, Bhante.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then I'd like to invite Geshan for the next question.
Everyone Saranai Bhante.
Everyone Saranai.
It is good to hear Venerable Dhammosuda's voice too. This is after a long time.
Yeah.
So, my question is, I think you briefly touch on this answering to some other yogis as well. But I thought of stressing it with just for my clarity. We live in a conventional world, so we have to sort of address even in this forum, for me to address myself what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Just now I used the word I,
Mm-hmm.
and without using it, I, how would you sort of address the same feeling, the feelings and the experience that individual sort of
Experience.
express, experience, how would that person express? That's the question that I'm sort of dwelling, and I think more I feel since we have so used to the context as from our childbirth, we have been taught in that now we are trying to transform of understanding, but the communication, that has not changed, and I only can communicate the way how you will understand. So in that context, the I comes into play multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of struggling in there to express. So thought of addressing this again.
Yeah. So you are correct. So basically the idea is, so if we are using it for mere communication, that's fine. But the problem is, when we develop a language, when we develop a word, when we develop all these grammar, etc., unfortunately the repetitive use of all this give a wrong perception in us. Okay, there is this particular person exists. Now say for example, you are talking to your son. What's your son's name? Yavit, okay. So when you refer, okay, my son, my Yavit, now he is in Virginia. So likewise you start thinking and you start talking to him and all that. Now it is necessary. So this is the conventional way of handling it, and it has a purpose and it is true. But more you think, more you refer, more you talk, all that, so you have the perception there is an individual called Yavit existing. Currently he is in Virginia. So this is the kind of an understanding now we have. But in the ultimate sense, there is no somebody, someone called Yavit other than the continuous arising and passing away of aggregates. So that is what we learn or we understand, we have an insight in our Vipassana practice, and it is kind of a challenge to this typical conventional reality. The conventional reality says there is Yavit exists, Yavit is my son, he is now in Virginia. That is one story. But in the ultimate sense, we understand here also there is no person as Geshan. Here also there are simply the 5 aggregates arising and passing away. There is no person called Yavit. Instead, there is only arising and passing away of 5 aggregates. That's it. So when we have such kind of a profound insight, then we can't think. Understand? So we can't think at that level. So we are simply experiencing the reality. We are simply experiencing the reality, and we can't think because the concepts become kind of concepts are not real at that level in a way. Concepts become concepts.
Right. Sometimes you struggle as well. Yes, it's like the water is muddy now, and there is no clarity in it. It used to be at some time when you sort of in that mindful or the meditative state, and where your thoughts just rest in peace. There is no fluctuation, there is no thoughts coming in and going and passing, or it's just mere like a clear, the water is just still. It's like a glass. There's nothing to sort of, but in this context again, to share that experience or to express that experience, and then certain norms has to be sort of used, and the water get muddy again.
Correct, exactly. That's what actually this previous person also mentioned. So when you are in that experience, the moment you want to express it, you come out of that experience. So you can't do both at the same time. You can merely experience it. Once you want to express it, you come out of the experience, and again you are conceptualizing the experience. So in order to express something, we need labels, we need names, we need concepts. So when we are using these concepts and try to conceptualize the experience, we are no more in that true experience.
Yes, I totally agree. Okay, I got it. So this is great. Thank you so much. Fantastic conversation.
Okay, so I have shown here that the Arahant Sutta. It's in the Devata Sangyutta Nikaya. So that the question, one Deva come to the Buddha and he is asking, if a bhikkhu is an Arahant, consummate with taints destroyed, one who bears his final body, would he still say, I speak? And would he say, they speak to me? And then Buddha answers, yes, if a bhikkhu is an Arahant, consummate with taints destroyed, one who bears his final body, he might still say, I speak. And he might say, they speak to me. Skillful, knowing the world's parlance, he uses such terms as mere expressions. So mere expressions. So he is using them as mere expressions. So because he has to communicate. In order to communicate to another person, he needs some kind of a mechanism. So he is using it as a tool, language as a tool, these terms and concepts as a tool. But from the ultimate sense, he is not taking that tool represent something solid, something substantial, something existing.
Got it. Yes. So that's sometimes I think last week one of the things what I mentioned when I sort of not in the meditative, just normal day to day, you have conversation with your office mate or your family members, and certain news articles come into play, and sort of you hear, you pay attention, and then your mind start going into this why it happens and try to analyze, and then suddenly you realize, okay, it's in the go now, and then I have to instruct myself, stop.
Correct.
And so, it is today I heard just a mere insult sometimes if it is going in the wrong path, as like visualizing something negative. If it's a pleasurable or some negative thoughts or whatever it is, just to sort of say. So I think these kind of I should start reading this one. This is good. I took a screenshot on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think no more questions, Jennifer?
That's correct, Bandi.
Okay then. So we have spent a fair amount of time today, almost 1.5 hours. And thank you very much for your active participation, and then all the merits what we have accumulated through our discussion and the Dhamma sermon and short practicing of Satipatthana. So all the merits what we have accumulated, we share with all celestial beings, all past relatives, and whoever in need of merits. And again, we wish these merits help us also to attain path fruition nibbana. We will recite the traditional verses. Ettavata cha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavata cha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Ettavata cha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya. Akasattha cha bummatta deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sasanang. Akasattha cha bummatta deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu desanang. Akasattha cha bummatta deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu mamparang. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā huntu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā huntu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā huntu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena māme bāla samāgamu satang samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā. Imam dhamme punya kammang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuncatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.